Welcome to the Parts and Labor Motorcycle Podcast. It's brought to you by Biltwell, Inc. We're going to dive deep into anything motorcycle related. We're going to introduce you to some of the most interesting friends we know. And we might even try to solve a problem or two. You got a question? That'd be cool. Send us a voice recording or an email. pod@biltwellinc.com. pod@biltwellinc.com. And we're back. Parts and Labor Podcast. We're here in the studio, kind of. Bill's in his studio. Josh and I are in our studio.
Hey, Mike.
We're in Temecula, California. Bill's in the, well, we can't say where Bill's at. It's an undisclosed location. Today we're talking about our Biltwell 100 race. As we're filming this, we're about a month out.
Yeah.
Josh and I were up in beautiful Ridgecrest, California last weekend, pre-running the course. We always get a few different questions on this race from people via email, Instagram, all that stuff, and not everybody knows the backstory, so that's what we're here today to kind of explain to you how the race started, how it's evolved, what makes it different from other races, and some changes you can look forward to in 2025.
Yeah, because we're year 4 now, right?
No,
Yep.
5. This
Time
is the
flies.
fifth annual. Yeah, pretty hard to believe.
Yeah, it's only been like 5 minutes underwater, but yeah, Bill could probably tell you better than I can how it started, because it starts with Bill.
Yeah. So coming to you from Port Angeles, Washington. That's my undisclosed location out in the boonies in the woods. Wishing I was riding dirt bikes with these guys in Ridgecrest this weekend instead of shoveling snow, but whatever. So how did it start? It's funny, on the first 100, Otto got me on the stage and asked me how it started, and I completely just froze and lied and said something about drinking whiskey around a fire pit, and that totally wasn't true. I just made it up on the spot. Actually, I think that's how the Frijoles story started, racing Nora 1000. So I think I got my wires crossed there, which is common. Anyway, I had an XR 400, needed some parts. I called XRs only. This was 6 years ago, and really nice, friendly guy helped me out. And then when he saw my email address at Biltwell, he's like, "Oh, you're from Biltwell," and I was like, "Uh-oh, I don't know what we did to this guy," but he doesn't seem very friendly all of a sudden. He goes, "Man, I race the LA to Barstow to Vegas race every year. I'm in an old club called the 100s, been desert racing forever. And I just got to tell you," and I'm just like, "Oh man, this guy's going to let me have it." And he goes, "Your customers, your people are the best. I love chasing them through the desert and picking up their parts. They ride the biggest piece of shit motorcycles. They have the best attitudes, and they're always wearing your helmets, running your jerseys and stickers and all that stuff." And I'm like, "Whoo, okay, cool. I'm glad, our customers are representing like that, and our friends. We know a lot of people that do that race." And so we got to Gavin, and he said, "Hey, have you ever considered doing your own off-road race or your own desert race for motorcycles?" And I said, "Yeah, considered it a lot. There's a lot of things I think we could do to make it a little bit different and better. But I just have no idea where to start." And he's like, "Well, I happen to run a side-by-side race organization out in Ridgecrest and Barstow and other places, high desert, Southern California. And I wouldn't mind helping you guys out." And I said, "Okay, let's do it. Let me talk to my guy, Otto, who does events and a lot of other stuff, and see what he's got to say." Of course, Otto said, "Yeah, let's do it." So we drove out, I think it was that night or the next night, drove out to Hesperia, had tacos with Tommy from DP4, and he had all the connections to the BLM. He knew how to mark a course, tons of experience. Every question we had, he had an answer for. And we said, "Yeah, let's do it." And so kind of like starting the EDR in 2006, when we sat around and talked about it ourselves, we just had no idea. Like, you can race a normal desert race for $35, or you can go to the Mint and race for 900, and there's just not much in between, and they're two completely different experiences, and both have their place. And we wanted to do something kind of in the middle that was a little more down to earth and approachable than a big race, but also more fun, and like you'd have a reason to stick around and have a good time, because a lot of desert races, you just show up, you race, and you drink one beer, load your bike, and haul ass home. And we wanted it to be more enjoyable, just because we like to party, we like to do stuff and have fun, and We're not trying to mow the lawn back at home on the same day and that kind of stuff. We want to hang out and make a whole weekend of it. So anyway, we made that available, and it was kind of wildly successful right off the bat, which was a surprise and also cool. And sold out fairly fast, even that first year when nobody knew really what it was all about. And then the second year, the word was out, and it about broke our server, and we sold tickets. I mean, it was a matter of minutes, and we had it filled. So that's sort of the origin story. We've been trying to, iterate and make it slightly better every time, and we've got it safer, we've got it smoother. Hopefully, we've got it better, make the race experience unique. And I think we're just going to kind of constantly do that as we evolve. So this year, Josh, you want to talk about why we went to the 2-day format? Because that's a big part of your lane. And what do you do for the race so people understand?
Oh, man. Yeah. So my roles and responsibilities for the race is pretty much initial admin. So when you purchase your registration, it goes through me. I vet it and make sure that the classes are appropriately filled and adjust as necessary. So as far as how that goes. So for 2025, we're now at a 2-day format, being that, like Bill mentioned, we sold out so fast in most, if not all, categories within, I think within the past second, third, and fourth, it was 15 minutes and all classes were done. So with the 2-day format, it allows us to safely expand the number of racers. So obviously there's a demand. So by having 2 days, it allows us to be able to get more racers on the track, because our number one concern is making sure that this is a fun event. And to be able to be a fun event is to make it to the point where you don't feel like you're going to die by just showing up. And the more people that you put on the track, the more, or on the course, the higher that potential is. So by being able to do 2 days allows us to spread it out a little bit more to where we can have more people participate, but in 2 days. So for 2025, the way that it's broken down is pretty much all of the, I want to call it kind of oddball classes. Anything that is not considered a modern dirt bike is going to be ran on Saturday. So that's everything from, dual sports, which are, effectively modern dirt bikes, through scramblers, hooligan sportsters, vintage dual shock, monoshock, early iron, electric endurance, misfits, the pull start bikes. All of those are going to run on Saturday, as well as all the ADVs, whether they're light or heavy. And then on Sunday, it allows us to completely open for all of the modern dirt bikes. So that way, and this year we broke it down a little bit more into age groups being only about a 10-year spread, whereas previously it was about a 20 to 30-year spread. So that way it gives, effectively more people on the court, or the appropriate number of people on the course, but also the potential for you to be competing against your peers, so people that are closer in age, and have more, winners. As far as, so that's the overall on the 2-day aspect.
Yeah, we kind of tweak the classes every year, which might be confusing for riders, for racers. But I think what you need to know about that is we're taking feedback from racers, and there's so many, especially when you get into like ADV light and ADV heavy and scrambler and dual sport. There's a lot of models out there nowadays that really, the good old days of having a 125 and a 250 are over. That ended a long time ago. So, and we're one of the few races that we have what we consider kind of inappropriate motorcycles. Everybody knows guys that ride heavy ADV bikes, a lot of times they just ride from Best Western to Best Western and don't do a whole lot of real off-road riding. At our race, these guys hammer those big bikes. And so those big bikes also come in a medium flavor and now in an even smaller flavor. And so we're trying to make classes and categories that suit all these weird CC sizes and make it as close to not an even playing field, but make it a competitive class. Because if somebody just has a wildly over-spec'd bike that's just going to stomp everybody, then that's not very fun for everybody else. So trying to get it to where it's the rider that makes the difference, not the machine so much.
Well, it's also the fact that the whole mission of this race is the fact that it's all about good times, not lap times. So if you're looking for the absolute most serious in racing, this is not the race for you. So, there's always going to be, the bike can give you a particular unfair advantage. That we're not here for that. The overall goal is for you to have a good time and try and get you into a class that's close. So, if you have a Scrambler Ducati that has better performance than, say, a Royal Enfield Scrambler, it is what it is. You're still going to go. The course is effectively you versus the desert, and it doesn't have to necessarily be you versus all the other people that are on the course, because at the end of the day, you just need to have a good time, and that's our main goal, is just to make sure that you have that good time.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, if you don't like that, go race District 37. On Sunday morning last weekend, I was coming home from Ridgecrest after pre-running our race course, and all of the District 37 racers were headed up to race their race. As Bill noted earlier, they were headed up the day of the event. None of them camped. They were driving the same truck, one white Chevy or a Ford F-250 or a new Cummins, okay? All of them. They all had the same exact bike in the back of their truck, a KTM 300. I'm not lying. I saw 85 of them heading up 395,
Yep.
and they were headed up there for the day. Like you said, they didn't have camping gear. They didn't have their old lady. They had a cup of coffee, and they had their race bike. And so if that's for you, if you want apples to apples, go do that race. If you're not afraid of competing against Nick LaPaglia, who's on a 390 Mako, or Chris Moeller, who's on a 360 Husky Cross, or Jordan Graham at Old Town Marietta on a TT 500. If you want to bang bars with those guys, and it's not apples to apples, but it's lemons to limes, then come to our race. And and you can bring your dog, you can bring your old lady, you can bring someone else's old lady. Man, come out and have a good time. That's what makes our stuff different. And we're gonna keep doing that because we sell out in minutes. So there's a need for that. As Bill mentioned, we're not the Mint and we're not District 37, and there's a time and a place for those races. I don't think we would feel comfortable at those. Man, I would get my balls beat if I went to District 37, man, and I don't have the money to race the Mint.
Exactly. It's fun to make fun of that series, but also we suck. We're total amateurs at racing dirt bikes. So, man, we're gonna if we showed up at that stuff, we'd get smoked. So we had to make our own race for lame people to ride.
Yeah, I rode some of their course actually on Saturday, and it was intimidating, dude. It was super gnarly, and it got you so far out in the desert. I did not feel comfortable. So and I wasn't on a 300 KTM, and I don't have a white Chevy truck. So I felt weird, and again, nothing wrong with it, but that's what makes our thing different. And we found there's more people, like us out there. So our event has been popular. And as you noted, we're doing 2 days, not to, actually, we lose more money now by doing it 2 days. We're losing double what we were losing last time, but we do intend to make it safer, and we do intend to tighten up the classes. And it is a learning experience for us every year because I don't think the customer, the racer, is meanings to take advantage of our loose classes, but sometimes it happens, and we have it pointed out that, hey, a 450X is not really an adventure bike, although maybe the guy racing it thought it was, and we've modified that class now so that he won't be racing against Steven from Marietta on his KTM 890, that's 2 cylinders as opposed to a thumper, single cylinder. So again, it's a learning experience for us. We are on year 5. We like to think we're getting better. I think our attendance numbers would say we're getting better at this, and every year we tighten it up just a little bit more. And this year we're going to run this 2-day race as opposed to a 1-day, and we're going to see how it shakes out.
Yeah, and we also I don't want to get lost on something that you're kind of tying in on, is the fact that when it comes to like District 37 or any of the other professional race series, is that it also has a level of intimidation to it, because it's like, oh, how do I get into it? What do I do? Do I have to buy the F-250 before I buy the dirt bike, or the dirt bike first? Whereas if you go to any of our events, there's always the new person that just showed up, and the Biltwell 100 is no different. First year, 75% of all riders had never done a desert race. And then we're getting a lot of that repeat customers. But at the same time, there's always going to be 25% plus of people that have never ridden in the desert. And something that we pride ourselves on is making it opening and inviting for you to be able to get that experience, because not everybody's going to be able to go and do a 5-race series. Not everybody's going to be able to go do the Mint, because it's intimidating, because there's a lot of, it's a long course and there's a fair amount of danger into it. Whereas with our course, you're dealing with 25-mile loop, and depending on the class that you're in, the number of loops that you do, or the number of laps that you do. So if you're an expert, you're going to do 4. If you're a novice, generally you're going to do 3. And then some of the other classes like pull start mini bikes, if they did 3 laps, that would take,
3 days,
24 to 48 hours. Yeah. So they're only going to do 1. But that makes it to the point where it's a lot more inviting to those riders to come out and try it out. Because, if you've never ridden in the desert, it's absolutely crazy, especially where we're at in Ridgecrest. The things that you're going to see, man, the pre-ride that we did, the views were amazing. And if you're looking at it from the standpoint of you're just winning, you're going to miss out on a lot of that. But if you're going into it with the wanting to gain the experience, like, you're going to see some amazing stuff. You're going to be in a position to where you're not going to be in the middle of the desert by yourself, because there's always going to be, hundreds of people in front or behind you going through those laps. We've got, medical on site in the event that something does happen. So it makes it the safest, most curated environment to go out and explore and do fun stuff with your friends.
Let's not say safest.
Yeah.
It is versus going by yourself into the middle of Ridgecrest.
But it's safer than riding out there by yourself. And if you haven't done a bunch of desert racing, I'd say you're going to feel pretty safe at our desert race.
Yeah. That's the nice thing about the 25-mile lap. A single lap is 25 miles. So you're never more than 12 and a half miles from the start finish. Yeah. And then we've got a bunch of road crossings, which will be manned so that you safely get across, Trona Road or any of the other road crossings. And those are places where we can get EMT vehicle if we needed to, or at least, like, there's a lot less injuries. There's a lot more bikes that go down rather than people. And so that gives us a spot to pull those people out. And just to kind of wrap up the whole, like, this versus traditional desert racing, I could see this, if I was quite a bit younger and a better rider, I could see this as a feeder for me to go to District 37 or to race the Mint. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, I was racing Class 11s and stuff, and, which is like a stock bug format. And we would go do Moore or Lorana or some of these other smaller organizations that had shorter races, lower entry fees. And that was like a big test and shakedown for us. And we'd do that a few times, feel like we had enough confidence, saved enough money, and then we'd go to Baja. So if you think you're going to race the Baja 1000, you should probably, and you've never done it, and you're not a complete badass, you probably should start with something like the Biltwell 100 and see if you're really cut out for it. See if you finish 4 laps and think, wow, that was great. Okay, well, that's 4 laps at our race is 1/10 of the Baja 1000, and that's in a foreign country and is way more difficult and everything else. So if you think you could do the Biltwell 100 10 times in a row without stopping in a foreign country, then you're ready for the Baja 1000. So I think this is training wheels to go, whether it's to District 37 and take it more serious, or the Mint or Baja, any of that stuff, or like us, just be happy being lame. Just come out and have a good time. Do 1, 2, 3, 4 laps, suck at it, get your medal at the end if you happen to get lucky and get on the podium, and just enjoy the shit out of it, because it is really fun. And like Josh said, the views are amazing. It's in the springtime, so a lot of people that haven't spent a lot of time in the desert have no idea that the desert goes into full bloom at that time. Like, it's visually stunning. So that's pretty cool. And the course is designed around some of that stuff. I know I haven't seen it yet, but you guys just saw it this weekend. The course this year is going to go into some canyon territory or terrain that we haven't been in before for the race course. And that's going to be interesting. And the other thing at our race too, if you're spectating, and we'll go into this in a little bit in more detail, but if you're spectating, you can still ride around. You absolutely have to stay off the race course, but you can ride around in a side-by-side or Jeep, Tacoma, whatever you got, another dirt bike, and go check out the views. When you get up to the top and look down on Ridgecrest and you see the the Sierras in the distance, usually with snow. And I mean, it's a really neat area. So you're invited to come and hang out and basically go anywhere you want, do anything you want. Just stay out of the hot pits and stay. What's the rule on the course, Josh? Is it 100 feet
Yeah,
from the
100
course?
feet.
Huh?
100 feet sounds right.
100 feet, yeah. So definitely stay off the course. Don't be an idiot, because if you're an idiot, somebody's going to get hurt, and it might be you. So let's not do that. So I don't know, between the two of you guys, you want to break it down for a first timer? Like, say somebody signed up and they've never done this. Let's just roll through it kind of quickly. What's going to happen when they show up?
Cool, yeah. So from start to finish, you decide, hey, I want to ride the Built 100. So via our Instagram, our email blasts, our text message blasts through our website, we're going to announce the dates that the tickets are going to go live. And tickets is the same as registration. So once those go live, the website is populated, and then it's a mad dash to get signed up so that way you can get your spot in that particular class. So say you want to do modern 30 to 39 novice. So you click that in the drop-down menu. If it's available, then it'll show. If that class doesn't exist on the drop-down menu, it's because it's already sold out. You register. The information that we need is all based off of the bike that you have, as well as what your emergency contact information is. And that's the information that we use to pre-build your profile into the system that we use, which is called MotoTally, that DP4 runs. And that's going to be your timing and how all that works.
Back up.
Ooh.
I can't find my class on the website. Does that mean my class is sold out?
Absolutely. So if the class is not available on the website, it's because it's sold out.
Back up. If I register in another class, will I be able to change classes when I show up?
Yes. If you read what the PDP, the product description
I don't read.
page.
Back up.
No.
Will I be able to change classes? Yes or no, Josh?
No, you cannot change classes.
Okay, everybody, you cannot change classes. Okay, if you sign up as a 48-year-old female, make sure you're a 48-year-old female, or we're not going to let you race. Okay.
And that's all based off of the fact that, you times that by the number of people that are coming to the race. If we're changing that, everything's based off of trying to have the classes in a manageable size. So that way dual sport novice doesn't have 150 people in it, because at that point, there's no way to have one line of 150 people launch at the same time.
Back up. You've given this consideration, and you figured out how to run a safe race, and you've limited the amount of entries per class.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
So that's the overall gist, is the classes are based off of the number of people that we need to have in it to be able to run that class safely. So if you sign up for a class that is full or a class that's open and you try to change classes, then at that point we're overfilling another class, which starts to take away from that overall safety. So
what if somebody's already done that, Josh? What if somebody had past experience where we had allowed that and they've already done it? What should they do? Should they email you? Should they...
Well, they should have already contacted me. So you would email 100@biltwellinc.com. At that point, we'd be able to try and adjust it. But day of the race, it's not going to happen, because that's going to slow down registration significantly, and that is something that we're not going to do. So if you have a class change, you need to make that known. And again, there's certain things that happen, like, I had my KTM broke down. I know. Hard to imagine.
Carry two mechanics.
But in the event that your KTM or whatever insert your motorcycle breaks down, or you hurt yourself, contact us. We'll do our best to be able to accommodate as much as we can. But at the same time, we won't be able to do that for everything, because once those spots are sold, it starts to make the administration or administrative aspects of the race a lot more difficult to manage.
Yeah, we had done class changes in the past, right? The race has gotten too big and too popular, and we have to start,
well, it just needs
setting some rules up, and we got to start sticking to them, or else we're not going to be able to run a safe race. We're not going to be able to pull it off, and this year we're sticking to a lot of that stuff. So that's something that is changing in 2025 a little bit.
Yep.
So Josh has been really good at administering that before the race happens, because as he noted, when you show up and you want to make those changes, it's not happening. Those days are over. We got too many people coming. We got too much stuff to do. We're a small team, and we're trying to do this efficiently so that our race isn't $900. And so that we got to start, drawing the line in the sand somewhere. If your KTM blew up or something, KTM on Sunday, ATM on Monday is what they say. try to talk to Josh beforehand, and maybe we can figure something out.
But there's no guarantees. But the key is as early as possible, because the day of the race or the day before the race isn't going to work, because all it's going to do is just bog down registration for everybody else. And as much as we care about each and every individual customer, the overall group and the flow and trying to make this an enjoyable event for everybody is the mission. So that's what we want to make sure that we're doing. So once you get registered,
say a noob shows up on Friday night and they're racing on Saturday, what do they do?
Well, and that's exactly it. So you've gotten registered for the race. You've got an email saying that you're registered and everything's accurate. So you're going to show up to the race or show up to Ridgecrest. Your choices are either showing up Friday, Saturday morning, or Sunday, depending on when you're racing. So say you're racing on Saturday. You could show up Friday, and we're going to have registration open, so that way you can get through registration before and be able to kind of decompress prior to the race. So you'll go through, you'll get your transponder on your helmet, so you'll bring your helmet to registration. Please bring your helmet to registration. At that point, you're going to get your bib, which, again, there's not a whole lot of other races that are providing the bibs and the sticker packs that we have.
Wait, back up. Can I pick my number?
Absolutely not. So based off of when you come through the line is the number that we're going to be able to issue. And that's just for speed, to be able to get through the line as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So you come through, you'll get your sticker pack, which will have all of the number plates that you would need, or stickers to put on your number plates for your bike, as well as your fender card, which is going to be marked with how many laps you're going to do based off of your class. You're going to receive your bib, which is going to have the same number on it. You'll get your transponder on your helmet, which is going to allow you to be able to get the timing as you go through each lap. So you'll go through, and that's going to be the registration process. If you're riding Saturday and you don't make it until Saturday morning, we're also going to have a registration. So it'll be the exact same process, but it'll be Saturday morning, and then pretty much feed right into the rider's brief.
And are those times published on the website, Josh, when it's open?
There's going to be the schedule is going to be published on the website, so just check that frequently to remind yourself on when, where, and why you need to be where you need to be, because that's going to lay everything out. Because there's going to be certain things that you have to do. You have to register to get your transponder, get your numbers. You're going to have to be there for the rider brief, so that way you understand what to do in the event of an emergency, as well as how the race is going to be conducted, how the start's going to be done, and then get ready and be in the appropriate spot for your class when the race starts. And again, so the way that works is if you're riding Saturday, you can register Friday or Saturday morning. If you're racing,
you're better off registering on Friday. Get there on Friday, spend the night, drink some beers with your buddies, hang out with your chick and your dog, your kids, whatever you're into. That Saturday morning registration is early. It's always cold, and it's not as ideal. You're going to miss a lot of the fun. Again, now you're in District 37 territory. If you just want to show up for the day and race and go home, we can do it. We can accommodate it, but man, show up Friday. We're going to have the registration open all day Friday. Starting real early. I think at 10 a.m. on Friday and running it till 7 p.m. I believe is the hours. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure we're going to run until 7 p.m. And that's going to get you the most bang per buck out of this race. That's what's going to let you have the most fun, and it's going to ensure that you're not standing in a long line.
Absolutely. And then, so if you're riding Sunday, you can register Friday. Saturday morning, once we get all the Saturday racers done, there's going to be you can obviously register as well. Saturday afternoon, prior to the award ceremony, or I think post-award ceremony, on Saturday, you'll be able to register for Sunday and then Sunday morning. So we're doing everything we can to reduce the registration lines by having the registration open as long as possible to be able to accommodate the number of riders that are going to be going through. So you go through, you already figured out, you got your fender card, you got, it's marked based off of your class on how many laps you've got. It also will tell you what your starting order is. So, depending on your class, it'll give you a lineup like, hey, I'm number 1, I'm number 6, I'm number 45. And at that point, when you go into the pits, there'll be markers and people being able to line up those classes based off of who needs to be there. So that way, as the race progresses, number 1 will be the first on the line. We do a rubber band start. So they set you up, they get you on the line, drop the rubber band snaps, and then everybody goes. And then number 2 will move up to that line. They'll go. Number 3, and so on and so forth. And there's usually like a 2-minute buffer between.
I think it's 60 seconds is what it was.
Yeah, it's a little bit fluid.
We shoot for 60 seconds.
I think we shoot for a minute. And that to me is one of the most fun parts of the race. Like every desert racer will tell you that nobody's ever won a desert race in the first mile, but a bunch of them have been lost. So you're fired up. It feels it's not quite like motocross where the gate drops, because that's even better because you're just bar to bar and you really can win in the first minute in that kind of format. But some classes we're going to have 40, 45, 50 people, and you're not going to fit 40 across the whole line. So that's going to end up going into 2 rows. So if you really care about where you're at and you specifically want to be up front and you want the left or you want the right or you want the middle, show up early, find your line. Each line's going to have a marker and a person walking around telling you where to go. So if you're, in line 6, well, then you might be the first one there, and you sit there, you stake out your spot and you stay with your bike. And then you go through the mental game. If you're on an old bike, like, do I sit here and let it idle forever and heat it up? Or do I turn it off and hope that it starts, 1 minute before? And then you never know. Say that the first rubber band goes off at 10 and the next one's supposed to go at 10:01. Well, somebody crashed in the tunnel. And so we're going to be hopping around on radios and shut down the start for another 2 minutes till we can drag that guy out of the tunnel. And everybody's in their helmet and there's no communication. You have no idea what's going on. So just sit tight and just wait until it's your turn. And that anxiety in that crowd is awesome, because it makes your guts kind of turn over and you don't know exactly what's going to happen. And that's a big part of the fun to me. And I know that's kind of intimidating to newbies, because you just feel like you have a lack of information. There's no way to give you the information because there's a million bikes running and revving and smoke and dust and panic and all this stuff. So just chill out and just wait, and you'll get your turn. And you're not going to win or lose at the start anyway. So if you are intimidated by that stuff, get in the back or get on the far edge, be kind of a shoulder hopper, and don't be right in the middle. Because what you don't want to do is charge out like an idiot and then realize you got the whole shot and everybody's behind you and you don't really know how to ride that fast. Then you're going to turn into trouble, and you're going to be trouble for more than just yourself. So I say back off. It's fun to try to get the whole shot, but if you're not really capable of following through with that, then take a second row or a spot on the edge, and really just be concerned about safety, because it gets dusty and fast and frenetic, and it's really hard to see, and you really got to kind of control your emotions and your right wrist, and just don't ride over your head, because crashing off the start is really easy to do and really hard to recover from. So, rant over.
Yeah, it's a 25-mile loop. You can get the whole shot on Jeff Jenkins. He's still going to pass you, just so you know. So have fun
you
with
ain't
that,
gonna get
guys.
the whole shot on Jeff anyway.
Maybe your friends will all see you win that first mad dash, but what happens after that is, they got a long ways to go, buddy.
But hey, getting that photo of of that whole shot before you get to the tunnel, that's something you can put above your fireplace for the rest of your life. Nobody needs to know that you didn't finish because you wadded it up going through the tunnel.
The good news is we pay a ton of professional photographers to be staged all throughout the race, and we follow up after you're done racing with a smorgasbord of photos of you out there looking like, Steve McQueen, So we'll get that photo, and it might be in race mile 18. Jeff Kwalichuk might shoot it. Some of the other famous photographers we got out there might get it, but we'll get it. It might not be that whole shot, man. That whole shot gets dusty, so that's a lot of times kind of the worst place to take a picture, and it's kind of the most boring compared to some of the other areas like Bill touched on. Man, springtime in the desert is a magical place. This year's course is 80% new. 80% is an area you've never been to. I've been out to this area 15 times. I wasn't even close to going to this area this year. So it's super beautiful, super bitchin'. And there's going to be a lot of elevation up and down on this one. And there's going to be a lot of cool spots for photographers to set up and get you that photo. So we'll get you that photo for the mantle. And if you're a racer, that you only need that one photo, you can hang it on the mantle and you can say, you got 8th, but you have that cool picture sitting above the fireplace, and you can talk about it with all your friends and or family at a later date.
Yeah, I think that's a really unique thing, and that was a great idea. Whoever had that, it was one of you guys, I think, to actually hire other photographers instead of
Jeff,
just
I think.
relying on Jeff and Flynn. And man, I've never been to a race where they send you a link at the end that says, here, check this out. All the photos are done by the race number, and you just look up your number 22. You find 22. Man, you've got 40 images of yourself, and you think you're such a badass, and you must have been flying, and then you see those photos, and reality hits. But there may be a couple of decent ones of you, and if you are actually a good rider, or your bike is interesting looking, or whatever, man, that is a totally memorable thing to get that, and it's really hard to get. And generally, you have to pay a photographer to do that stuff, and I think it's a really
you would pay
fun
more
bonus
than the price of admission to a trackside photographer. It would not be Drew Martin. It would not be Cameron Alsop. It would not be
Right.
Jeff Kwalichuk. It would be Matt Frick, and he would be late to get you the photos, and it would probably be a picture of your back tire, and it probably wouldn't even be your back tire. That's how it works in any other race, and as Bill noted, we send you a Dropbox full of bitchin' photos, including but not limited to pictures of your dogs chasing each other in the pits, little kids doing wheelies on their pit bikes, a bogus awards ceremony, and or maybe you getting that whole shot or coming over the crest on a beautiful course in the Mojave Desert, so you just get one of those pictures, and I would say you got your money's worth. But you're going to get 50 shots like that, and that's a pretty cool and unique thing.
Well, that's one of the things that I think I'm so stoked about on this race is we try to make sure that the value to the dollar is high, right? So for the, currently registration's $150 per entry. And for that, not only do you
We're raising it next year. That's too cheap.
It's too cheap. But for that cost, you're getting the BLM authorization to be able to ride on their land in a race format. So that way we can, and then it's going to be a scoped and marked course with medical accompaniment in the event that it's necessary. So that alone is worth the price of admission. But on top of that, like you mentioned, you're going to get access to all the race photos after the race to be able to let everybody know on the gram how awesome you are. You get a race bib that we designed that you can hang up on the wall after you ride through. The sticker sheet, which has not only number plates for your bike, but some additional ones to throw in your car, your helmet, or wherever. And then we usually give you a little bag with some extra little goodies in it from some of our sponsors. So everything that we do is to try and build upon the value, so that way the money that you spend is going as far as it possibly can, because we want to make sure that it's a good time for everybody and worth your money, because we know that today's day and age it's harder to come by.
You might get a beer, you might get a taco, you might get a cup of coffee, and if you're lucky, I'll make fun of you and or your mom on stage.
Especially from Bakersfield.
Those things really happen. So
I think the award ceremony has turned into it's a thing people look forward to. It's basically just auto roasting everyone in every class, and you've polished that to quite an art.
It's fun. It's all good fun. We're out there to make fun of each other. Again, we're not District 37. We're just poking fun at each other. And to me, the racing is like the smallest part of the whole deal. I would say, who knows how many people we'll have out there, but probably 1 in 5 people is actually racing. The other 4 of the 5 are out there supporting, barbecuing, pit biking, karaokeing. The race is like the cherry on top. It's the smallest piece of the puzzle, in my opinion. And this is, out of the 4 or 5 events we host every single year, to me, this is the funnest one, because we have all those aspects, mixed in. Little kids and significant others and, pit bikes and cool rigs. Man, I think on Friday night we could have like a show where you just drive up your cool little desert rig and we talk about it, whether you're Chris Huber or you got a lifted ambulance like Andy came out with one year, there's a lot to look at and a lot to do, and we're doing it all at the best time of the year in the Mojave Desert. So that's a pretty special thing. If you haven't partook in any of those things, I think you'll be impressed when you come out.
Yeah, I agree. Let's kind of go through the race quickly, so that anybody that's a total noob has an idea. So we just talked about the start. You're going to rip off the start. you've never raced in the desert before, so what happens? How do you navigate? Do you need a roll chart? Do you need a GPS? Do you have your phone? Is there people to help? Like, none of that. So the way it works, and this will be gone over in front of you at the mandatory riders brief before each race, meaning Saturday and Sunday, you're going to be looking for markers, and I should have brought one with me to put on here, but it's a orange background, probably 9 inches tall by 6 inches wide, with a black arrow pointing up. Up means go. So you just go from stake to stake. They're put on little wooden stakes, and then there's also construction ribbon, so like 1 inch thick or 1 inch wide plastic tape that'll get tied on to bushes and stuff. And yes, we go through and police all that trash up at the end of the race, so we don't leave it out there for the tortoises to ingest. So you basically, you should rarely find yourself out of sight of some kind of marker. If you do,
you're off the course.
You're probably off the course. You probably started to zone out, and there was a little dog leg that went off to the side, and you didn't notice it. So calm down, back up, don't ride backwards on the course. Get off the course a little bit and ride back and find yourself. Find another marker. On the back side of those markers, it's white and has a big W, which stands for wrong way. And I think ours even say wrong way asshole on them. So if you see that, you're on the course. You did a good job finding it. You're just going the wrong way, and you're going to die when somebody else comes around the corner or over the next hill. So turn around and start following the orange arrows. No matter what, do not go backwards on the course. There's probably nothing more dangerous you could do than go in the wrong direction on the race course. And we've never had a problem with that. It's not a thing. You just instinctively, you want to survive, so your mind isn't going to want to go backwards. But if you're fatigued and you don't really know what you're doing and you get turned around, it is a possibility. So keep following those things. Every mile there will be a mile marker, and again, they're easy to miss, but you're going to have 24 of them, so there's a good chance you'll remember them. And I try to remember them. It just gives my mind something to do when I'm racing it, and so I just keep kind of saying 3, 3, 3, whatever, partially so that if I do break or I get hurt, I can call in my location and I know where I'm actually at. So if you go out there and you're not paying attention, you're just ripping, and you have no idea where, you haven't been looking at any of those markers because you just don't care. Well, when you go to tell us you're by, one tumbleweed next to the big rock, it's going to be harder to locate you. So the traditional sort of desert way to do it is say, I'm in between mile 3 and 4 somewhere, and I'm in a sand wash or whatever. And then they're going to radio that to the crew. Why don't you walk us through how that works, Josh? Because you're the one that's handling that. You kind of have like a combat outpost going where you've got the grease pencil and the map, and you're triaging and making sure that people that are hurt are getting attention first, and then people that are just broke but they're safe. Why don't you talk about that, and then I'll talk a little bit about what you should bring with you on the bike in case that happens.
Absolutely. So one of the things that most people don't take into consideration is like how much radio chatter there is during the race, because the race is just nothing but radios going off. And that is just because of the administration and making sure that everybody's as safe as possible. So when you check in, you get a little bag, and in that little bag is what we call a stuck stub. And that is the most analog way to be able to report where you're at and what you need. So say you break down, your bike breaks down. You have the ability to pull that little stuck stub up that you need to take with you, and we give you a little golf-sized pencil. You write your name, your rider number, where, the last mile marker that you saw, and then the next rider that comes by, you hand it off to them so that way they can hand it off to the next race official that they see, whether it be at the water bar checkpoints or a road crossing, so that way they can get on the radios and radio it in. Or on that stuck stub, there's also a phone number. So if you bring your cell phone, which we highly recommend, because that way you have, GPS capabilities if you need to, and a means of communication, which this race course, with the exception of one spot, you should be able to have cell phone reception to be able to call a number. And that number that's on that stuck stub is going to come to me. And at that point, you're going to tell me your race number and then where you're at and what your problem is. So that way we can triage who needs to go. Once you call it in, it may take a while for us to get out to you, because there may be people that, based off of our recovery crew, people that are closer, people that are in a higher category of need, whether it be medical, to be able to get that attention. So you might be out there for a while. So Bill's going to cover what you need to bring to be able to account for that. But once you report in, you go ahead and let us know where you're at, what you need, why you need it, and then we'll try and get somebody out there as fast as we possibly can. You just call every hour or two just to check in, letting us know that you have not or have been picked up, and then we make sure that everybody's accounted for at the end of the race. In the event that it's an emergency, then that just gets escalated, and then we have the ability to get medical attention pushed out onto the course based off of where you're at. In the event that you come up on an accident and somebody is hurt, at that point, you just try to render first aid as much as you possibly are capable of, and then be able to get the next person to come by to go seek help in the event that you can't call 911 yourself.
Not 911.
Well, if they need to.
Call our line, and we'll get somebody out there.
Yeah, and I mean, so what is that? Do you want them to call 911, Josh?
If it's an emergency to the point where somebody is dying, I would call 911, let them know that you're part of the Biltwell 100, so that way they can redirect, because they will be able to contact the emergency personnel that's there as well. If it's a non-critical, broken arm, broken shoulder, sprained ankle, at that point, just call the number that's on the stuck card, and then we'll be able to get the ambulance and stuff out to you as well. That'll be either or. I don't want to tell somebody not to call 911 purely based off the fact that that's the easiest and quickest way to be able to get that information known. But let them know you're at the Biltwell 100, where you're at, and then at that point we'll be able to use stuck stubs and everything like that to be able to get more information as needed.
Yeah, and I think one of the worst things you can do is sort of self-extract, like hop on the back of someone else's bike and get ridden out, which we've had that happen before, and then we come to where you had called from, and there's a bike there and no human. Now we're sort of all hands on deck. We've got a lost person in the desert. We have no idea where this person is. So if for some reason you think that's the best thing to do, you really, really, really need to call us, or really, really wait and don't do that. If you call us first and say, hey, I've got an opportunity to hop on this guy's bike, can you take me off your recovery list and I'll check in when I get back to camp? Is that appropriate, Josh? Is that okay?
Yeah, that would work as well. So the big thing is just making sure that there's accountability. So if I get notified that rider 22 is at mile marker 6 with a broken motorcycle, and then they go and they find the motorcycle but no person, then that starts throwing red flags up. Where is this person? Did they wander into the desert? So by being able to call them, being like, hey, rider 22, I'm at mile marker 6. I got an opportunity for my friends to come pick me up in their truck, and I'm recovering back to camp. Okay, once you get to camp, hey, rider 22, I'm back at camp. So that way we can mark you off our list that you've either self-recovered or you've made it, and you've made it back. So that's totally doable. But the big thing is just communicating what your intentions are. So that way, because once you identify that there's an issue, you go on our board, and we need to be able to close that out by saying, that you've either been recovered by our personnel, medical, or self-recovered.
And we're highly discouraging people to call back to the pits and get their buddy in a truck to drive out there and get them, right? Because
that's not allowed till the course is cold.
Exactly, because if your buddy goes out there, then at that point they're on the course, and it has the potential to cause more accidents.
Exactly, and just more confusion. That's more sort of targets, things you can run into, things that can run into other racers. Realize that at one point early in the day, we're going to have 400 people riding motorcycles as fast as they can inside a 25-mile lap. And there's a real big diversity of skills and experience and motorcycle type. So the number one concern for us and for riders needs to be safety. So that's why it's good times, not lap times. As Otto said, you're not going to win anything. You're not Johnny Campbell. Nobody cares. The trophy you get for first is the same as the one for third. You're not going to win any money. You're not going to be on TV. You're still going to get made fun of at the award ceremony. Like, it doesn't matter. So slow down. Be a good Samaritan. So I'll roll into the things that you ought to bring with you. So I'm kind of a weirdo about it because I've spent some time far out in the desert where you don't have anybody to help you. And I bring more than I probably should. but I usually bring it for other people. I don't need it much for me. In the event that I do break, maybe I'll put that stuff to use, but I'll bring a basic toolkit. I'll bring any spare parts that are likely to break. Like if you got a KTM, maybe haul a trailer, with
Bring a
wheel
Honda.
bearings and things.
If you got a KTM, bring an extra Honda.
Yeah, I'm riding an old TT 500, so I could probably do 100 laps on that bike if I physically could. Anyway, so I bring a few tools. I bring a full first aid kit too, like a decent one. The probably number one thing you're going to need in the desert is going to be a sling. So it's called a cravat or a sling, so that you can get somebody's shoulder isolated so that they're not hurting it. People are going to break collarbones. They're going to twist an ankle, so maybe a ace bandage is okay. To bring little cuts and abrasions and things like that, you're not going to die. You're not going to get an infection. It doesn't matter. I mean, you can bring all the Band-Aids you want if you want to stop some small bleeding. I bring an actual compress for a big wound. I don't do things like sucking chest wounds, although that's a thing with a handlebar to the sternum for sure. I bring a little tarp. So I have a little orange tarp. If you're old military guy, you know it as a VS-17 panel. Bring that so I can mark my position. So, and again, it's not necessarily for me. This is for Josh, you ever seen one of those from a helicopter?
Yeah, I've seen them.
Yeah. So I bring it because I might need shade. There's a lot of places out there. There's not many trees. There's not many rocks over 2 feet tall, so you may need shade if you're sitting there for 4 hours in the desert. So I got a little orange tarp that doubles as a visual square. So if I call in where I'm at or where an injured rider is, and a helicopter's going to come or a Jeep's going to come or side by side or whatever, it's just kind of easy to tell who that is, and we might need to create shade. You can also make a stretcher out of it. You can make a lot of things out of a small tarp or a poncho. So like I said, I'm a weirdo. You don't have to bring all that stuff, but definitely stupid shit like a Sharpie. Bring a Sharpie so you can, I'll usually have a tank bag and I'll write down the guy's number and what his, even if he's given his stuck stub to somebody else, I'll still write down the number and the mile marker that he was at, and I'll double or triple check when I roll through the next checkpoint and say, hey, did you know 22 was down? It's just a broken bike, but he looks like he's suffering from heat exhaustion. Maybe they'll send somebody out with water, who knows what. I also bring way more water than I'm going to need. And in the last few races, I've started bringing a lot more water and bringing it in actual water bottles instead of a bladder so that I could pass it out. Because I'll see people, I've given away hats, water, because people are just standing there in the sun. It's 90 degrees. You're already fatigued, and you strip your sprocket or something, and guys are just standing there. They don't know what else to do. And I'm like, dude, get in some shade. Get right off the course. Make sure you're still visible from the course, but don't stand in the middle of the course, And here's a water bottle. And then so everybody needs to be looking out for the other guy or girl on the course and trying to help them. They might have got their bell rung. They might have heat exhaustion. They may not be thinking straight. So sometimes they just need a friendly face to say, hey man, you're kind of in a stupid spot. Let me help you drag you over here to where these rocks are. Let's make sure you're visible from the course. Here's a water bottle. I'll make sure and double check with the next officials that I see. And it really helps people out. I've picked up their bikes when they're too smoked to pick their bike up in the sand. And I think if you got your eyes out for other people, there's a lot of opportunities to be a good person. So what if they do break down, they call it in, is the process any different if they get hurt? It's kind of more just different on your end, Josh, right? Because you're triaging and you're going to put injuries in front of mechanicals and try to get people dispatched to them. But I think people should have their expectations low for that and realize that it's still a big desert and it's complicated to get to you, and it may be an hour or two. So if you break your collarbone, you're going to be in pain for a while. It's going to take quite a while to get to you. Correct?
Yeah, exactly. Because there's when you're talking about this course, it's made for motorcycles. Side by sides can make it through there, but when we're talking about recovery vehicles that have the ability to pull bikes out, it takes a little bit more unique course to be able to get around getting on the active course and get to that specific person where they can actually find them. So timing could take a while. But again, when you call in letting us know what the issue is, whether it's medical or whether it's mechanical. At that point, it gets triaged based off of, what's more important. Obviously, medical taking priority. And then, again, just be prepared. The biggest thing, like Bill said, just, there's so many people that have broken down and they never account for the fact that the bike is going to fail. That you could strip a sprocket, throw a chain, have a KTM, anything's possible. And at that point, just not being prepared. So by having water, having a cell phone, the Sharpie, first aid kit, all of that is going to be vital because you want to be able to plan for if that's going to happen. Otto and I would also say that if you're going to bring tools, please make sure you bring Snap-on and mount it to front fenders, right? Front fenders as much as possible.
Bring your best tools out there, please.
Exactly.
And
so
don't write your name on the tool bag or anything. Don't put your
do
name.
not write.
No.
Don't
worry about
we'll
that.
find you. We'll find you.
Yeah. So that way, Otto and I get new tools at the end of the day when sweep comes through.
Tommy and his crew from DP4, enlisting some help from the Hundreds Motorcycle Club, have been doing races out there for a long, long time. They have been getting guys off the course in a timely fashion for us now for 4 years, going on 5 years. There's a method to our madness, and we've been pretty successful at this. Like Bill said, just chill out, drink water, get in the shade. If you're not dying out there, we got some other guys we probably need to get to first. So Josh got your call. He's real good he has a board. He's in a trailer with a board, a whiteboard that he's writing down who's where, and he's going to get to you, in a timely fashion. But there might be somebody that's a little worse off than you, and we're going to get to them first because that's how this needs to work so that we can keep running a successful, safe race. And again, we've been doing it for a minute, and we might not get your bike right away. No one's going to steal your bike in the middle of the desert. Nobody wants a broke down KTM. We're going to get you off the course, and then we'll come back later if we got to and come get that thing. You know what I mean? We'll put it on Craigslist or whatever, but just calmate, as my friends from the South would say. Calmate.
Once the bike goes down, you've now effectively become a spectator. So enjoy the race. You already paid for it. So chill out. Just wait for us. We'll come grab you. Again, it just might take a little while.
And you're not alone. You're not that far.
Nope.
Don't panic. Everything's fine. Call it in. Find shade if you can. Drink water. Take an opportunity to take a pee. All that kind of stuff. So let's continue on the theoretical course. So you're going through all this stuff. You see mile marker 23 and you're like, oh man, I'm almost to the end. Okay. And probably around then you're going to be seeing, it'll probably be to your left, I imagine. You're looking down, you'll see the crowd, the football field it's called, where, is that the way the course is laid out, Josh?
Yep.
Yeah. And before you get there, Bill, also about halfway through the course, we have what we refer to as the water bar, which is just a spot that we have established with volunteers that are going to have water. It's a spot to where if in the middle you feel like, it's just you need a break, that's the place that would be the safest to be able to get off your bike, chill out for a little bit before you continue on throughout the race.
Yeah, they'll have a couple tools, maybe some oil, it's just some basic stuff like that. Don't rely on those guys to wipe your butt, you know what I mean? But they're going to be there if you need a place to hang out for a minute and catch your breath, or if you don't feel like finishing the race, that's the spot to stop. Not in the middle of nowhere calling it in and I'm too tired, my arm hurts. If you can make it to the water bar, that'd be the safest, best spot for everybody else, and that will get you off the course quicker than being in the middle of nowhere, because that's a fixed position that we know we've got people going to during the whole race, back and forth. So
and they have radios, and it's a place that is easy to get, relatively easy to get vehicles in and out of. So that water bar is the best place to break down or stop anywhere else on the course.
Yeah, absolutely. So real quick, back to course marking. So I talked about the up arrows. Down arrows mean there's a danger. That down means slow down. If there's 2, it means it's more dangerous. If there's 3, it means, man, this is really something you need to consider. And especially on the first lap, just crawl up to that and see what it is. Because a lot of times it's going to be like rolling out of a square-edged culvert. It's going to be something that you don't want to, that maybe your mind can't process what your eyes are seeing fast enough. And if you go ripping through that in 4th gear, that'll be the end of your day, So pay attention to those down arrows. They may also point to the left or right. That means that there's a turn coming up. It doesn't mean turn exactly right there. It means be ready for a turn that's coming up. So then to say you're starting to come into the finish line, you're going to see it. There's generally there's a trailer. There's a bunch of markings. You'll see there's like a little chicane to get into it. Generally, there's a Claiborne yellow arch that kind of symbolizes the finish line. That's where the timing is going to hit the little sticker on your helmet, your transponder, and you have to come to a complete stop there. And that's where an official is going to manually write down your number, and then they're going to check off on your fender card for that lap. So your fender card has to get marked for every lap. Don't leave until he tells you it's okay to leave, and don't come skidding up, ripping. You're not Johnny Campbell, so calm down. The 1 second of you acting like an idiot isn't going to help, and you're putting that guy or that girl in danger doing that. So just calm down. And I know, because I've been chewed out for it before, for coming in too hot, because I kind of am like that. And so don't. Just come in, relax, let him mark your fender card. When he tells you go, you're going to look directly in front of you and probably to the left if it's set up like previous years, and you're going to go into the pits. Now, the pits, they're hot pits, meaning that people are riding through them. There shouldn't be anybody walking through with no reason, to do that, but there's always people in there. So you don't want to go ripping through again in third or fourth gear. You're not going to win the race by doing that. So come in first or second gear, be chill, look for your pit crew. Your pit crew should have either an easy up or an easel or something so that they can see you, or so that you can see them, so you can identify. And you should know before the race, like, oh, I remember they're on the right side about halfway through, and you're looking for your boys. But once the race starts going on, things get more chaotic. There's a lot of dust. There's a lot of other riders. There might be a rider in your spot where you need to pull in. You're going to have to negotiate that without turning it into some sort of conflict. So you pit, meaning you don't have to. If you have enough gas to make it for the next lap, if there's no reason, then just roll by and give them a thumbs up, and they'll go, yep, he's good to go. And you take off and do another lap or 3 more laps, however many you've got.
There's a speed limit in the pits, and we will remind you of that at the riders meeting in the morning. Most of these bikes don't have a speedometer, so you don't know how fast you're going. But you know when you're going too fast. And if you're passing people in the pits, you're a kook, and you should go to District 37. And they'll probably knock you off your bike. Here, we'll just roast you when I get on the mic. But that's not what the pits are for, dude. You pass somebody in the pits, yeah, you're a kook. And we're going to call you out.
And don't let your pit guys be kooks either. So they shouldn't be drinking. Don't be smoking it. There's a lot of race gas in there. Don't smoke. There's yellow flags. We'll help you when you set up, when you come in on Friday night or Saturday or whatever. We'll help you get set up, and you'll see how it works. There needs to be a distance between the back of your Easy Up and the back of your van or your truck or your trailer or whatever, and that's to allow an EMT vehicle to fit through the pits without going down the center of the pits where the riders are. So that's something that we'll strictly enforce. So if you're unsure on how to park and you can't see how other people have done it and the flags don't make sense, just go back to where you came in at, or go to the registration area, or find somebody that's wearing a Biltwell crew shirt, and we'll help you figure that out.
And you need a fire extinguisher in your pit as well. So please make sure you have that, a fire extinguisher that's not from the last 20 years, but more recent, from the last 6 months. That's a very important thing. We haven't had any issues yet with anything like that, but that's part of our BLM permit, and they occasionally check, and you would help us out a lot if you just have that fire extinguisher sitting out where they can see it when the fire department or the BLM guy rolls through, and it's just noticeable and easy for someone to grab in case of an emergency.
Yep, for sure. So camping's super easy. It's BLM land, so it's what you call dispersed camping. We don't bring any amenities except porta potties, and I think we've tripled the amount of porta potties we bring compared to the first couple of years, and we get them pumped as often as we possibly can. This is a huge expense. We also have a roll-off dumpster that you can throw your trash in. So do not leave trash. Everybody that goes through registration usually gets handed a trash bag, right? Is it like Kernville we do that?
Yes.
So if you need trash bags, talk to us. do not trash the desert. If you want to be able to, well, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter that we won't get invited back. Just don't suck. Don't be a kook. Be a decent human and pick up your junk. And if you see trash that maybe it blew in because it was windy and it came from somewhere else, we'll pick that up too. It's really easy. So don't trash it. Don't shit out there. Just come use one of our porta-johns. Clean up your fire pit. Don't burn pallets. Pallets leave nails behind. Nails give people flats. Don't burn garbage. Just be a decent human and leave it better than it was when you got there. So you finish the race, you finish your last lap, then what happens? Go back to your camp, have a beer, have water, do whatever, and the awards are going off at what time, Otto?
I think it's 6. We got to talk to Tommy and see how quick he can get the results in. It's usually dependent on how fast he gets the results in. So I think it's 6.
You'll see the stage area when you go to registration, and that's where it will be at. And like Otto said, there's a good chance we'll have some beers, good chance we'll have some waters, some tacos, and we'll definitely have a roasting award ceremony that is a pretty good comedy show. So it's a great time to high five with your other racers and chat with people. And it's fun for us to see like the anxiety early in the day. And then once you're gassing off at the end of the day and you've had this adrenaline dump, and then now you're safe and you're happy and maybe a little looser, and the vibe is just really good. So it's fun, and the awards are fun. And we got some really nice cast brass awards, kind of like with a big ribbon on it, like a medal. And they look pretty good this year. We also have a new award for this year, and that's the Badass Award. And that's for anybody that's signed up to race, who races Saturday and Sunday and completes both races. So there's no winner of that. There's no way to, sort of mash up the times and come up with a winner because the classes are so diverse. But you will win a Badass Award. And we only made a few of those because there's not many people that are going to do that. So you have the potential to race something vintage or oddball on Saturday and then race something modern on Sunday and get a special number plate award. What else? Anything else? Any other concerns? Any questions you guys have got from customers and racers, friends that had issues or frequently asked questions, that kind of stuff?
People ask, does it cost anything to come camp? No. Again, we're camping on BLM land. It's free, so just come out. As Bill said, be self-contained, be prepared to take care of your own stuff. We're about 15 or 20 minutes away from the town of Ridgecrest, so theoretically you could come and go eat in Ridgecrest and grab any supplies. They got Walmart, they got Tractor Supply, they got grocery stores, but if you want to have the maximum amount of fun, show up with an ice chest and a pit bike, and a tent and a sleeping bag, and try to stay the whole weekend with us and just hang out. We encourage, as you pull into the football field, I would like to encourage you to please, if you're not racing and you're not pitting, camp over to the left. The stuff on the right, that's where the pits are. It just gets real crowded unnecessarily. It's a giant, giant desert. You get socked into that pit area, and while it might be fun to look at bikes and stuff like that, you're going to miss a lot of the race, and it's going to be really harder and unsafe for you to come and go as you please. So
yeah, good point.
If you can camp off to the left, which the left has a little bit of elevation, there's a ton of riding behind you on the left. And this year especially, the course is not really going through a lot of that area. So like the race could be going on and you could be riding out back, in the middle of nowhere and not be in any sort of danger of being on our course. So that just gives you a lot more freedom if you want to sneak in or sneak out. That's the spot to do that. You get yourself down in the pits and you're out driving around or riding around and you're crossing the hot lane in the pits. Man, we're going to flag you and tag you because that's not safe for anybody. So if that's your intention and you don't need to be in the pits, don't be in the pits. It's silly. So.
Yep. And if you're fancy, you can even get a hotel in Ridgecrest. A little bit backtracking on the 395 is Randsburg, which is a super neat, I want to say ghost town, but it's not a ghost town. People live there, and there's a couple of great bars and burger joint and whatnot, and it's a good excuse. Like, say you race on Saturday, man, stick around, watch some of the racing on Sunday, and then rip up to Randsburg in your side-by-side or on your dirt bike or whatever, and check it out. It's a super neat town, really cool.
Yeah, it's a good place to stop on your way home too. If you're just heading home, you want to grab something to eat real quick. They got a little public restroom right there in town. It's easy to get in, easy to get out. There's a gas station in Johannesburg directly adjacent to Randsburg, and it's just a cool little stop on your way out and get that full desert experience. This is a special little area. It's a 395. It's the start of the Sierra Nevada mountains, and it's where the Sierras meet the Mojave. So it's like this just awesome California experience that is very unique, and especially, as Bill mentioned, during that time of the year when we haven't had a lot of rain this year, but we were just out there. It's gorgeous, man.
It's so good.
It's so good. We're getting a lot of flowers from rain from 2 years ago now still. That desert got drenched, and they're going to be popping up hopefully during our race.
Yeah. And it's not just camping. Spectating is also free. So if you can't spend the night or you want to spend the night in Randsburg, just come out and have a good time. Like, we're going to do everything we can to make sure you have a good time. Plenty of riding, plenty of things to do.
Yep. Sounds good. I think we're going to have a fun race this year. And also, if you're curious about it and didn't sign up, just come out and spectate, like Josh said, and check it out and see, and then come back again next year. And let's have a good, fun, safe race. And we'll see you guys in April.
Race, as my buddy Chris Muller would say.
I don't know about a clean race. Some of these guys are pretty dirty. All right.
Yeah, but lastly as well, there's a lot of information on the website, www.biltwellinc.com. Just hit the events tab, Biltwell 100. Any question that you have, there's probably an answer there. In the event that there isn't an answer that you're looking for, you can email us at 100@biltwellinc.com, and that's going to be an email specific to race type questions. So we'll be able to answer whatever questions you may have.
Yeah, true. And then another last thing. We have a lot of last things. On our YouTube channel, on the Biltwell channel, there's a couple of, I think there's one or two full laps shot from a GoPro of while a guy's riding. So you can, if you're like, man, I just don't know if I'm good enough. I don't know if this terrain is too tough, blah, blah, blah. You can sit and just watch for 45 minutes exactly what a lap looks like. One of them was shot from off-road Sportster that we built called the Spare Parts Bike with our guy Christian riding it. And he's a great rider, but you can see from watching that it wasn't that taxing. Like, he did 3 laps on that bike. It's a big, dumb, inappropriate motorcycle that shouldn't be in the desert, and he pulled it off, so you can probably pull it off. So if you're the type that likes to research every single little thing, watch a whole lap and see what it looks like. Of course, the course is going to be different this year, but it's going to be very similar, same kind of terrain. So, all right, I think that's it, right?
Flynn says that's it.
Okay, yeah, this was long.
All his camera batteries are dying, so yeah, we're gonna wrap it up, guys. We'd love to see you out there first weekend of April, I believe. Mojave Desert,
okay.
Ridgecrest, California, Biltwell 100. Catch you soon.
All right, later. Well, thanks for listening to another episode of the Parts and Labor Podcast, brought to you by Biltwell. Got any feedback or questions for us? Send a voice recording or email to pod@biltwellinc.com, and we'll see you next time.